Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Whistlethrowers. It's a great way to interact with our show. Our DMs are always open for questions, topic discussions, and more. You will be able to find our new episodes and other announcements there.
Jacksonville was the most brutal one by far.
Who said they were frauds for a month on this show?
You were right.
Thanks for tuning back into the Whistlethrowers podcast. This is Jack Lamar, joined by
Jackson.
And Aiden Tuczynski.
We got a lot of playoff football to talk about. All the scenarios are dealt with, and the teams that are in are in.
Starting off on Saturday, we've got the Browns as the 5th seed playing the 4th seed Texans, and then later that night, the 6th seeded Dolphins playing the 3-seeded Chiefs. And to finish off the AFC, we've got the 2-seeded Bills playing the 7th seed Steelers. For the NFC, you've got the 2-seeded Cowboys playing the 7-seeded Packers, the 3-seeded Rams playing 6-seeded Rams playing the 3-seeded Lions, and then the 5th seed Eagles playing the 4th seed Buccaneers. So that is your playoff bracket the way it's set right now.
Yep. And we got a lot of teams that just missed the cut.
Yeah, there's a couple. Seattle just missed it.
Yeah.
I hate
They
it.
had it's a little bit slow sometimes.
Jacksonville, I mean, that's...
Jacksonville was the most brutal one by far.
Who said they were frauds for a month on this show?
You were right.
I told all of you.
Yeah.
I didn't want to believe it.
They were 8-3. I was like,
Yeah.
there's no way they don't win that division.
Yeah.
I was like, because, 7 losses won that division for Houston,
Yep.
10-7. If sitting at 8-3 through 11 games, I'm thinking Jacksonville is at least going 500 ball.
Yeah.
They looked terrible. We talked about their defense a lot. Their defense did end up looking a little better towards the end of the season, but then this game, just another game where their defense just could not buy a stop. And then I don't know whose quote unquote fault it is on the offensive side of the ball. I think Lawrence is still a good quarterback. I don't think there's really much arguing he's top 15. I think that they should continue moving forward with him. I don't know that you change much. I think that when you get to a point like 8-3 and then collapse like that, you kind of just have to get back. I'd say run it back with mostly the same squad. I get you can't keep everyone, but keep who you can, because I think they had a good team. You just got to change a few things defensively.
Yeah, well, the first thing that they did was fire Mike Caldwell, their defensive coordinator. That was immediately done.
Yeah.
I guess he's the fall guy for it. Like you said, someone needs to be blamed.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that I took out of this game, other than Jacksonville losing, which, again, huge shocker considering where they were at by week 11, this was Derrick Henry's game to prove that he should get a major contract next season.
Oh, yeah.
And he had a great game.
Mm-hmm.
And he's showing that even though he's getting close to 30, that he can still be your cowbell running back. Like, he will be your 3-down back.
Yeah.
If he gets paired with a team that has a second running back, that's going to be even better for him.
Right.
Because then you can share the snaps, doesn't have to do too much to work, let him get a complete goal line back.
Yeah.
Not that he needs to do that yet, but that's just a possibility.
Just now that you said that, do you think he should stay with Tennessee because of TJ Spears? He has that guy to split with?
No, and it's only because Tennessee's not going to be contender.
Right, yeah.
And at this point, he wants a ring, and I think his hope was to be able to do it with Tennessee. That's the reason he stayed there so long. It's becoming very clear that Tennessee is not going to be a competitor, especially the AFC, which has so many great young quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And I really like Will Levis, but I think that he still has a ways to go, and I think the rest of the team is not even close to where these other AFC South teams are.
Yeah. And Go ahead.
No, and that's just basically it. He's just not going to stay on the team.
He should go to
have a
Houston.
chance. Could be a possibility.
Maybe. I was going to say, I completely agree with everything, and Tennessee's in a spot where they need to find their quarterback right now, and God knows how long that's going to take. Like, it could be Levis next year.
Mm-hmm.
It could be someone in a draft 3 years from now, but they need to find their quarterback, and they have a lot of figuring out to do outside of that position, but they need to start with QB, obviously. And Derrick Henry is in a position, he's approaching 30. I think he's going to be 30. Am I right?
I think he just turned 30.
Oh, he did turn 30. Okay. So he's in a spot in his career where you got to win the ring now. The window is 2 to 3 years left.
Yeah.
We saw how quick a fall off for a guy like Zeke was, where he didn't perform that well in Dallas, and he didn't get a contract with a contending team that wanted to pay him. And I think that says a lot about the position, but also the player, the individual. And you said it best. Henry was out to prove something that week. Like, he was earning his bag that week. He's going to get paid by someone because he's just too good to not to pass on. I mean, why do you not add that to your running back position, to your running back room? Why would you not do that as a contender?
Yeah.
Like, I think any contending team right now besides the 49ers would be like, yes, to a guy like Derrick Henry. And the only reason is the 49ers don't need to pay Henry money for a guy that they have McCaffrey there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's going to get paid.
Yeah. Even the Browns, I don't think would look his way either.
No.
If Shelb comes back.
Yeah, because you've got Kareem Hunt as well, who's been a really good backup.
All right, but let's say Henry goes through free agency a couple times, a couple weeks, and the contending teams are just, they don't want to match the years that he wants. Okay. And then it ends up like he's desperate for like a 1-year deal, and you're Cleveland. I would do it because you don't know what level Chubb is going to be at, and signing Henry to a 1-year prove it contract a little bit. I think that's a good option B.
Yeah,
pretty much, because I agree with you. Like, Chubb should be there next year, obviously, but he's coming off another major knee injury.
Yeah,
like how many hits can a guy take? Because this has been a consistent through his career.
Yeah, the other thing, too, with the Browns is that Jerome Ford's done a really good job as backup. And obviously, he's not Derrick Henry, but if you're going to look at it that way, you might as well just pay your younger, cheaper guy
You're right.
through the next couple of years. Let him compete with Chubb, with Kareem as your third. I'm just saying, like, in that hypothetical.
I just had a very scary thought. Imagine if Dallas gets him.
I could see it.
Yeah.
I don't think they're sold with Tony Pollard yet.
I wouldn't be either.
And maybe like they want to like take back what they did this year and say we want to go back to a Zeke Pollard type
2 running backs, because that's what worked really well for Pollard, and it worked well for Zeke in the red zone.
Pollard doesn't have the endurance for 3 downs.
Yeah, when you have a guy next to Pollard that is able to eat up snaps to put Pollard in the snaps that put him in the best position for him. He's a great running back.
Yeah.
And you can get away with that.
I could see Dallas trying to do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, you could. The thing is, you could literally run through every team. That's like a contender right now. And be like, dude, their offense is a lot scarier with Henry there.
I think that's most offenses that have one other running back.
Yeah.
So, that was just something that I took away from the Jacksonville game. But again, Jacksonville completely fell apart, and it was really disappointing to see, considering where they were at.
Yeah, it's sad to see a Doug Peterson team like not rise to the occasion and answer the bell to finish. I mean, again, 8-3, they finished 9-8.
Doug's only had 1 year as a coach with more than 10 wins.
And it was the Super
Bowl.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know what to say. I mean, I love Doug. I think he's a great coach.
Yeah.
So,
and again, he took a horrible situation in Jacksonville. The fact they finished 9-8 last year was unbelievable. But you would hope to see that they would take another step this year.
Yeah.
And they did not.
Yeah.
They did at the beginning of the year, but they completely regressed after that.
Yeah, that's why I think, like, if you run back that offense and just add to your defense, like, they need a front. Like, I think edge rusher is good. They have Josh Allen there. Yeah. And the Walker kid from Georgia has been good. Yeah. Definitely serviceable, but the interior needs to be upgraded. And then obviously they had their one corner who like got hurt earlier. I can't remember, like something Allen or I can't remember, but he was a good player that they missed, obviously. Yeah. So I think that if they run back a lot of the same roster and just fill in holes, they're going to be a good team. Like, I still believe in them. They were 8-3 at one point. They had a shot at the 1 seed and they just fumbled it, but I think, especially with a guy like Lawrence, you can come back.
We can move in. I want to talk about the Packers for a little bit because I was high on Jordan Love all year, and he finished second in total touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I don't know what it is with the Packers, but they could just snatch an amazing quarterback out of any situation. Mm-hmm. And I think the trend is going to continue, and I think that Jordan Love will not be as far away from the last 2 quarterbacks as we thought he was going to be. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they really gave Dallas a tough game this week. Yeah, I don't think they're going to win, but they're going to get a tough game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't want to go as far to say as they'll win the game, but I definitely am in the boat of they'll put up a good fight this week. And I also agree with what you said about Love. I mean, he proved something this year. Like, I think there was a point in time mid-season. It was the Vegas Monday night game where he just looked terrible. And, like, you were thinking at that point, he's really not showing improvement. He's not elevating his game. But to finish off the season, he was great. I mean, he looked really good. He was making a lot of elite throws. And you look at what he's done with the rookie from Michigan State. I'm drawing a blank on the name, so forgive me. But he's been great this year, and a lot of that is because their connection is so strong. I think I think that's a obvious positive, and you just hope that he builds that with guys like Watson too, which it looked like he has this year. Like Watson, same thing, looked a little down earlier, but to close out the season, Watson and Love together looked really good. Like Love is building connections with some young receivers that it's like that's very positive for
Jordan Reed has been awesome.
Yeah. Jordan Reed is who I was thinking.
Yeah, he's been a stud.
And another point, like that's how they've done it each time. Like, Favre had Donald Driver and Rodgers had two. I mean, Greg Jennings and Devontae Adams both times. I mean, although it didn't lead to multiple Super Bowls, they did achieve.
And Jordy Nelson.
Yeah,
I want to give Jordy Nelson a shout out.
Like there was Randall Cobb. There's a ton that you could run through. That it was like young receivers that were coming in at the right time with Rodgers sprouting. Yeah, that made it really good. And you think about it, the last time the Packers won the Super Bowl, they were the lowest seed in the NFC. Yeah, going into it. Yeah, so it's not out of the question.
The biggest thing that I think that people are not going to talk about going into this game is that Stephon Gilmore could potentially be missing the game with an injury.
Yeah, right.
Now that means that there is going to be... I mean, it's only his shoulder, so chances are he's going to play.
Right.
But with him not 100%, that exposes his entire side of the field for the Packers.
Yep.
And they're going to take advantage of it, I think. And that's just going to make it more of a game than it would have been had all their defensive backs been healthy.
Right, yeah. And another real question is, how is Green Bay's defense going to fare against a team like that?
Yeah.
So Green Bay stops the run really well this year, but they've been iffy in the past. Like, they've been good, like, really good some games. And then other games, they've been bad.
Yeah.
And they need to come up with their A game. The secondary needs to come up with their A game this week because Dallas puts up near 40 points at home.
Yeah.
Like, they need to... And Dallas is on an insane home win streak. Historic.
Yeah.
So the cards are not in their favor that way, but you're right. Like, this, if there is a team to upset them in the wild card, this is the team.
Yeah.
I don't think LA Rams could have done it.
No.
It's just a bad matchup.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Eagles could have done it either.
I think that the Packers probably are the best matchup.
Yeah.
The guy that
they're playing the best football. Of those three.
The guy that I've circled for this game is CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah,
135 receptions this year, which is sixth most in NFL history for a season.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous what he's done this year.
Yeah.
And if the Packers want to win, yes, the entire offense is incredible. Yes, you need to get pressure to Dak Prescott. Yes, you need to shut down the run game. You need to shut down CeeDee Lamb if you want a chance to win this game.
Yeah, right.
That's what it comes down to.
Definitely. And like the thing is, mid-season, Green Bay traded Russell Douglas, not in like a full like we're done, but kind of a salary dump kind of thing. And I bet they're like,
we can use them right now, especially the way that he's playing with the Bills.
Yeah, because I mean, we just talked about it. Like, if there's any way Dallas is going to poke holes and score close to 40 points like they normally do, it's going to be throwing the ball. Yeah. Like, they're not going to run the ball as well as they do on some other teams. This week, they might air the ball out better than they do on other teams. So Green Bay needs to come with their A game because, again, like I said earlier, if they come out to play, they have the ability to stop Dallas air raid.
They are playing with house money, so they kind of have nothing to lose.
Yeah, right. And I think that Dallas has to come out with that mentality too. Like, I think it's like, if you lose, what changes? What changes going into next year that you weren't thinking this year?
No.
Well, if they
nothing,
lose...
you think that they're home playoff jokers. Like, that's you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, in that sense. And like, I think that they'll still move with Dak, but McCarthy's gone. You saw the report this week that he's on the hot seat. Like, his job is depending on their playoff success this year.
I mean, okay, yeah, but how the heck was Jason Garrett able to have that job for 11, 12 years?
Right. I think Jerry Jones is learning, but even so, I think he gave McCarthy too long of a string, and that'll prove if they lose this year, whether it's this week or the following week.
I guess so.
Because, dude, there's nothing... It's like the Sixers. I don't give a rat's ass if you get to the second round. I don't give a rat's ass if the Cowboys get to the divisional round.
Yeah.
You need to get to the conference championship. That's where I say you took a step.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, get to the conference championship, and I'll give you a chance at the Super Bowl next year.
Okay. I want to move to the Eagles just to get it out of the way. I don't know where to start, honestly, because Jalen Hurts looked terrible, and they gave up like before halftime. Obviously, if you throw Marcus Mariota in a game, like you gave up.
Yeah.
And Jalen Hurts didn't even throw a touchdown in that game. we didn't even put up any points until like what late second or third quarter.
So Hurts wasn't even in the game when we put up points.
Yeah. And this is the Giants of all teams.
Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor and wasn't Tommy DeVito hopping back in there too?
And they torched him. They fucking torched him. I mean, granted the Eagles were missing a couple guys, like Cox missed, but there were not enough guys on the defense that missed the game where I can sit here and say, oh, I'll give you that excuse. Like, there were a ton of starters out there. They played like trash, and the Giants lit them up. A terrible offense lit them up. And offensively, like you said, Hurts looked terrible. The run game looked terrible. Everything just looked terrible. And there was no positives to take away from that. And it's crazy. After they lost to Dallas the second time on Sunday Night Football, you sit there, they have Seattle, New York, Arizona, New York. Yeah. You're like, these are 4 games where you can not sit back, but get your cards right and like start showing improvement going into the playoffs. And they went 1-3 and looked terrible in all 4 games. Like you're collapsing. You're collapsing, and I don't even see them winning. I will, if we're gonna make predictions later, I don't have them winning this week.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just did a bracket. I wanted to share it in a little bit.
Yeah. Once you'll share your bracket first, and then we'll follow. But I'll spoiler alert. I don't have the Eagles winning this Monday night.
Me neither.
Yeah.
You have anything to add?
The one thing I want to add, I would to go back into Eagles history and figure out if there was a year that was anything like this. And a lot of people mentioned the 1994 year with Rich Kotite, which if any Eagles fan hears the name Rich Kotite, they sort of like close up a little bit. But there was another year that I read about that was kind of interesting. So the 1981 Eagles, and this is the year after that they lost the Super Bowl. So kind of like, this is the closest you're going to get. So 1980, they lose to the Raiders. 1981, start out 9-2, lose it 4 straight afterwards, another 9-6. They finished 10-6. Wildcard weekend, lose to the Giants 27-21. I think that when I read that, I almost got like chills.
Yeah.
Because it reminded me a little bit of how this season's gone. I'm not saying that it's nearly as bad, but I think there's a lot of people that might disagree with me with that.
Yeah.
If we're going by predictions, I still have faith in the Eagles getting past the wild card. Afterwards, it depends who wins, but if you're going by the other teams ahead of them, I just don't see them getting to that point that they got to last year.
Yeah, right.
And again, there's a lot of things. It's also the fact now, I would have felt more confident if Jalen Hurts wasn't hurt. Mm-hmm. If A.J. Brown wasn't hurt. And now you lost Anthony Brown for the entire rest of the year.
Yeah.
I just don't see how you can win in the postseason with 3 of your best guys banged up like that.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And that's the same reason why, if we're going to go through predictions soon, with the Lions, I totally lost faith in them if Sam Laporte is out.
Exactly, yeah.
You just can't win with your best guys injured in the playoffs.
And I don't know if I'm going to have Detroit losing to L.A.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you're right. That Laporta being out makes that a way closer game than I think it would have been. But, yeah, I mean, you run through Eagles history. I mean, we've done this before, but I don't know if a collapse is this bad. Like, if you remember back in 2010, Deshaun Jackson returns the punt against the Giants, and then the next week they have the Sunday night game at home against the Vikings, who were starting Joe Webb.
I remember that. Yeah, that was after the Favre injury they lost. But the thing about that team is that had they not had the return against the Lions, they wouldn't have even been in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Or they would have been in the playoffs not as the... No, so the Giants didn't make the playoffs.
No.
So,
if Like, the high point was so high late in that year, and then they just lose to Joe Webb, and then winning that game against the Giants, they had to, but it in turn got the Green Bay Packers into the playoffs. Same thing we talked about earlier when Rodgers won the Super Bowl. He ran into the Eagles first, and the Eagles lost those 2 straight final games. Or they actually lost again the following week to Dallas in a sit your starter. They already locked up the division thing. But they lost 3 straight games to close out that year after the Deshaun Jackson punt return. That was bad. I mean, if you want to just go through season collapses, like 2011 being, like, the expectations being that high for a team. But this was terrible. I mean, 10-1, finish 11-6, and you're sputtering. Like, you were literally the best team in football in November Like, I'm not talking September, October. You were the best team in football in November. Because you lost to the 49ers December 3rd, and that's when everything started to crumble. You were the best team in football at the start of December. And you are literally the worst team in the playoffs this year. I mean, am I wrong on that? Do you think any team is better in the playoffs? Or is any team is worse in the playoffs?
I don't like the Steelers. If I'm
Yeah,
being
no,
honest.
I don't either.
Would you pick the Steelers over us?
As the worst team?
No, I mean, if we just played a game.
Oh,
Against the Steelers or in general?
if the Eagles play the
Against the
Steelers, I'm
Steelers.
picking the Eagles.
I'm picking the Steelers.
I'm picking the Eagles against the
Are
Steelers.
we okay? Wait, are we going in thinking that everyone's hurt or everyone's healthy?
Everyone's healthy.
I'm
Watt's healthy, everyone.
Oh,
Still picking the Eagles.
Eagles.
All right, but yeah, all right, you do have to account for the circumstances. So.
Yeah, that's because. And again,
But
we'll get
I'm
more
still
into the
picking
injuries.
Steelers. I think the Eagles are playing like the worst team in football right now.
I won't argue.
Yeah, they're the only team in NFL history to have 10-plus wins and lose to two teams with 10-plus losses.
Oh.
That one I did not know. I know they were the first team to have 10-plus wins and not get to 12. None of it statistically lines up.
No.
But again, there is one exception to this entire rule. It's the 2012 Ravens.
Yeah.
They lost, I think it was 4 of their last 5 or something like that, and then made a run to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So that's the only exception to this rule, but it can
They had
happen.
Ray Lewis and shit.
They did, and
Eagles
the
just
other
don't
thing
have
too,
that.
Joe Flacco's also healthy.
Yeah.
It definitely depends on how healthy Jalen Hurts is.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think anyone's going to know until we get to kickoff Monday night.
Yeah. So I'm excited to get in this bracket. I switched it up as you guys were talking. So did you guys hear about the Rodgers conspiracy for the Super Bowl matchup? So he said the last however many, like 3 or 4 years, the mash of the two
Yes, I
colors
did
for
know
the
this
Super
one.
Bowl
Yeah.
logo
Oh.
have been determined in the matchup.
Yeah.
And it's purple and red this year. So
Yeah.
I originally had the Ravens and the 49ers, but I did change it up a little bit. So it gets a little crazy right away. I'm going to start in the AFC. First matchup, Texans-Browns. I have the Browns winning, unfortunately. I wanted Stroud to go on a run, but Flacco magic and that defense, I think it's just going to be too much for him. This was a pick that I switched. I had the Dolphins beating the Chiefs originally, but then I remembered that when you lead on Tua in big games, he doesn't show up. So I switched it to the Chiefs winning, and I got the Bills steamrolling the Steelers. Moving over to the NFC, I got the Bucks beating the Eagles in a close one. Then I got the Lions beating the Rams by 1 possession, and then the Cowboys beating the Packers by 10. Moving back to the AFC, I got the Browns beating the Ravens.
Oh.
Yup. Listen, division. This is going to be a 50-50
Yeah, well,
game.
it's going to be a
I hear
tough game, for sure.
I don't think it's crazy.
No, I'm just a little bit surprised that you picked the Browns.
I believe in Flacco.
All right.
I believe in that
in
defense,
Flacco.
too.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to pick them, but...
Yeah.
It was tough. I had them going to the Super Bowl before I made adjustments.
Yeah.
But then I got the Bills beating the Chiefs. Only because I feel like Mahomes is going to get a bunch of bad karma for how he reacted against them in the loss, and they actually, more than ever, have a reason to just come out there and destroy them.
And finally, Buffalo gets a chance at KC in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Like, I think that they're chomping at the bits
Yeah.
to get KC in their building.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
Especially that crowd, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going, though.
Yeah. Moving to the NFC. So I'm very happy I don't have the Eagles winning this game, because if they played the Niners, we would never hear the end of it when we lose.
Yep.
So I got the Niners beating the Bucks by like 2 scores. Then I got the Lions beating the Cowboys in a nail-biter. Championship games, I got Bills advancing to the Super Bowl, Niners advancing to the Super Bowl, Bills winning by 10.
Wow, okay.
All right. That was my prediction last year.
Really?
Yeah. It was Bills Niners. It didn't happen, so I'm not going to do it again this year.
Okay.
So starting off, listen, anyone that knows this podcast knows I've been a huge CJ Stroud fan ever since he was in college. Panthers, I'm sorry you made a mistake.
Yep.
It is what it is at the end of the day, but I love this kid. I love the energy the Texans are playing with. Yes, the Browns are being a very competitive football team. I'm going to go Texans. It's at home in Houston. I think with that crowd, with the energy that's going to be there, I think that carries the team. Dolphins season, I wanted to go Dolphins so hard until the game against the Bills. can't anymore with the way that they played against teams that have winning records.
Yeah.
Especially this game's going to be in Kansas City.
0 degrees this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The the Dolphins are just not going to be ready for it.
No.
I got Chiefs winning that. Steelers-Bills. Now, this one's interesting because I don't know if you guys looked at the weather for Buffalo, but it's going to be wet, sloppy, and cold.
Huh.
This isn't going to be a runaway game for the Bills.
No.
If TJ Watt was playing, I think I would have leaned Steelers. Because it seems like he's not going to, the advantage goes to the Bills, but very barely. And I think that Josh Allen's going to have a really sloppy game, and it's going to come down to him making some sort of miraculous play after having 4 turnovers.
Don't you think they're the best equipped team for shit weather?
They are, but it's also the fact that I don't trust Josh Allen. I don't trust him to control the football.
But do you trust James Cook in a ground game?
Yeah, that's the only reason why. But again, if they have a slight advantage, but look at the way the Steelers have been running the ball since they fired Matt Canada.
Yeah. I mean, but it's still Mason Rudolph versus
It
Josh
is,
Allen.
and that's why the advantage goes to them. But the Steelers
do you think Mason Rudolph is going to start? Apparently, there's some controversy there.
Yeah, he should. He's going to be starting.
If they go to Kenny Pickett, then the Bills win by 20.
And then they're stupid, too.
Yeah.
And I will come on here and I will flame Mike Tomlin, too.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin... Look, I don't want to call for anyone's job, but if you reinstate Kenny Pickett over the way Mason Rudolph has been playing, and you lose, there is a reason for your job to be called for.
That is crazy considering they went 10-7 with that roster.
Yeah.
He deserves a lot of credit.
I know, but I'm just saying, if you make the switch now,
yeah.
I won't be calling for his job, but I will be.
Okay, look at it. In 2001, there was a chance that the Patriots could have gone back to Drew Bledsoe in that playoffs. If they'd done that, there's no way that they win the Super Bowl or go on that run they did. So no, Mike Tomlin needs to stick with a hot hand, and it has to be Mason. That being said, it's going to be a way closer game than people think it's going to be. Buffalo still pulls it out.
Okay.
Going into Sunday's game, we've got, so that's Steelers-Bills. Yeah, so Cowboys-Packers from the NFC. I'm going to go Cowboys. I think the Packers will keep it close, but just having too young of a quarterback against too good of an offense, like we talked about. Rams-Lions, not having Sam Laporta in this one's really going to hurt the Lions. But they have 2 of the best running backs in the entire NFL. If you lean on them, and I like the Rams defense, but at the end of the day, the big piece is Aaron Donald. If you can neutralize him with that run game, I don't think the Rams have the offense pieces with how good that Lions defense is to necessarily win the game. Yes, the Lions give up a lot of yards. Yes, Puka Nacua will probably have a ton of yards this game, probably a couple touchdowns. Yeah. I still think the Lions can pull away the win if they don't turn over the ball. If Jared Goff can be the type of quarterback that you need to be to win a game without your best offensive weapon. You just run the football.
Yeah.
Eagles-Bucks. I'm going to go with a close Eagles win in this one.
Okay.
After that, the Eagles, I think the 49ers are the best team in football. I've been saying that. I don't think the Eagles win that game. No. When you go Cowboys-Lions, I'm going Cowboys. After that, Texans-Ravens, going Ravens. Bills-Chiefs will be close. I'm going to go Bills. I just do not trust the Chiefs' offensive weapons against that defense. So, in that case, Ravens-Bills, I think that this is the Ravens' year with Lamar. I think that they're going to win that one. 49ers-Cowboys in San Francisco. I think the Cowboys win.
What?
I don't know why.
What?
I think it's the fact that they got blown out and humiliated in that Monday night game or Sunday night game, whatever it was. I think they come back with a vengeance.
When do the Cowboys ever punch back in the playoffs?
They don't, but I think this is their year. I'm going to go with Cowboys fans. This is their year.
Okay.
Not to win the Super Bowl, because the Ravens will beat them in the Super Bowl, but I do think that this is their year to make a run for it.
This might be their second best chance since that 1 seed year was Zeke, but
I
don't know.
And again, San Francisco could absolutely humiliate me with this pick, but I think that this is the Cowboys' best chance. I think they realize it, and I think, like we said, they're playing with house money, and that's a dangerous team to play against. I agree. Especially because the 49ers have proven over and over. Look, we all talk about the Cowboys' failures in the playoffs. Nobody talks about the Niners' failures. They've only been to 1 Super Bowl since 2019, and they lost that one. So this team also fails in the playoffs. So you're putting 2 teams that historically, in the last couple of years, do not do well in the playoffs. I think that the Cowboys have the slight advantage.
Okay.
Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl, though.
All right, and I'll start in the NFC. I go with Tampa Bay over Philadelphia. I think it's going to be close. I just think that the Eagles' mistakes that they have been making this year will come back to haunt them. The turnovers, dumb mistakes that have just been killing them. Can't get off the field on 3rd down a lot. Detroit, LA. I do agree that LA is going to make it close as well. I think all these games are well matched and close matchups. But I really want to pick an upset too, but I just don't have one. Like, I just think Detroit and Dallas both have a better team, and in a close matchup, I think that favors them considerably, to be honest. So I'm picking Detroit and Dallas. San Fran, Tampa. I think that this one's going to remind me a lot of the Chiefs-Jaguars game from last year, where it's more of an experienced team against a team with a quarterback that has little to no experience in the playoffs, especially like a real playoff atmosphere, because Baker, the one time he got in, was the COVID year. Yeah. So there wasn't even a playoff crowd there. But I think that they'll make it really close because they have Tampa Bay has a really underrated defense, and they have a ton of weapons offensively. Like, they're a scary team. They really are. I don't think the NFC South winner is as much of a joke as I thought it would be. Like, Tampa Bay has impressed me.
Yeah, they're 5-1 in the last 6. Right?
Yeah,
something
they've been playing well. That game on Sunday didn't inspire me a whole lot, but
definitely not. But I mean, I will give them a little bit of slack for like Week 18 kind of Carolina messy like weather. The weather wasn't great that week, so I'll give them that pass. But I do agree, like that's 9-0 against that team. It's not inspiring, but I do think on paper, like they look good to me. A lot of their defensive stats are really good. They're top 5 in the league in red zone efficiency. They're top 5 in blitzing, which can come up huge in the playoffs. I think they're a scary matchup, but San Fran is just they're on another class. So I'm taking them, and I agree. Dallas, I think in a rematch of that game, will beat Detroit. I just think Dallas is a better team. I think that's as close as Detroit could make it in Dallas last time. Yeah. And they had an opportunity to win that game. Like, they can win in Dallas.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that was the closest that I think they could get to that, because they could have just kicked the extra point and taken their chances. Yeah. But and then San Fran, Dallas conference championship. It's so tough, but I have to agree with Aiden.
What? Yeah. What is wrong with you guys?
Their defense doesn't impress me as much as I thought that their defense would a lot of the times this year, but their offense is loaded, and they make right play after right play. Like, they just make really good decisions. Their receivers get wide open. Dak Prescott has looked like an MVP candidate. I really like their team. Like, I hate to say it.
And the thing is, they're not going to be running the football against a really good Niners front. Like, they just don't have the power to do that. Yeah. If that's all they were built on, like they were a couple years ago when Dak was still learning how to be an MVP caliber quarterback, then they wouldn't win this game. Yeah. That's not the case anymore.
It's different now. Yeah, I agree. I don't think McCarthy's necessarily a good coach, but he has shown the ability to coach a team with a great quarterback to a Super Bowl. So I'm not putting it out of the realm of possibility that Mike McCarthy can get this done. He's coaching for his job. Like Aiden said, they're hungry. And like Jason Kelsey said it best, hungry dogs run faster. Mm-hmm. And I think San Fran is hungry as well. I just don't think they'll know it's coming, because I think they'll let off the gas a little bit. They've destroyed a ton of great teams. Yeah. Granted, they did lose to Baltimore, but they destroyed Dallas at home. I think that they'll kind of go in and kind of be looking ahead. Yeah. Sort of like, because again, not to go back on Eagles collapses, but like 2002, Eagles are hosting Tampa, and like
they looked ahead.
Everything was in their favor, and like Tampa Bay was not that good of a team. Granted, they did win the Super Bowl, so they were a great team, but like the Eagles should have won that game. Yeah, and like
they weren't great. I don't think that Raiders team was very good. If I'm to be honest,
it wasn't. And then the next year too, Carolina comes in, a team that was under the Eagles, and they beat them. Like it's not. And like the Carolina and Tampa Bay teams that beat those Eagles teams were worse than this Dallas team going into San Fran.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like, it's not even close.
And I just think, like, at the end of the day, Dallas has the better quarterback. Like, they do. Yeah. And I think their rosters are very similar talent wise. I think this is a good matchup for Dallas.
Yeah. And they're just going to have to figure out a way to neutralize McCaffrey.
Exactly.
That's what it comes down to, I think. Yeah. I think that they have the ability to stop Kittle. I think they have the ability to get after Purdy. Yeah. If you can't stop McCaffrey, you're not going to win. I think the Cowboys, I think they finally do it.
Yeah.
They could.
They've looked, Iggy on their front has looked insane. He's been really good. Yeah. And then I'll go to the AFC side. I agree with Jack about Cleveland beating Houston. As much as I want Houston to do it, I just don't think they have the power to compete with that roster. KC over Miami. You guys talked about that well enough. I just don't think Miami has enough. I don't think they'll be ready for the weather, yada, yada, yada. Buffalo, Pittsburgh, I agree with you. Like, the weather is going to be a factor in that game. And I just think, again, Buffalo just has a little too much. And I think that they're destined for something this year. I think they really want a rematch with a lot of teams.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I think they almost want a rematch with, like, the divisional round itself. Yeah. Like, not just KC.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so Baltimore will get Cleveland. I think Baltimore wins that. KC will get Buffalo in Buffalo. Like I said before, I think Buffalo just is hungrier. And they are chomping at the bits for KC to get in there. And KC's not going to be ready for it. They don't have as good of a roster as they've had. I don't think they can compete with Buffalo. And then Baltimore-Buffalo AFC title game. It's going to be an absolute movie. Like, It really is. It's going to be a great game. But, I agree with Jack. Like, Buffalo has shown such great ability in bad weather. Like, the only game I think their defense looked bad in bad weather was the Philadelphia game, which seems like a millennium ago. Yeah. But their offense consistently looks good in bad weather. Like, Josh Allen is a good bad weather quarterback. And it pains me because I really like Baltimore. And I will be rooting for Baltimore in this game. But I trust Buffalo more in bad weather. And I think that game is going to have bad weather. And I think Buffalo is going to take that matchup.
They actually have an answer on the ground for the first time in that tenure too.
Yeah. And then
can't ignore that.
I'll do this quickly because, again, I think the Super Bowl matchup of Buffalo-Dallas, rematch of two great Super Bowls in the past. The Bills are looking for a vengeance this year. Like, I think they're going to avenge those 90 teams and Jim Kelly. And I think they're going to win the Super Bowl this year. It seems so far-fetched because I've done this before. Like, did you predict Buffalo last year?
I predicted Buffalo, San Francisco.
And you predicted Buffalo to win?
I believe I did.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember which team I picked.
But
that was the Super Bowl.
Way,
I don't think I picked the winner. I just said those are the two teams playing.
Okay, yeah. Because I've picked Buffalo before. I picked them in 2021. I've picked them plenty of times before. I think this is their year. I really, really do. And it's weird. Like, this is the matchups of this is our year teams. Like, Buffalo and Dallas have been those teams. I think this is Buffalo's year. And I think Dallas fans will be happy enough that they got to a Super Bowl. So I think that Buffalo takes it over Dallas this year.
Okay. We're running short on time and computer battery, so quickly, do you guys want to... Maybe we should save this for next week.
Yeah, we'll save that. We'll touch it real quick, though. Michigan's beating Washington 20-10 with 10:25 in the third at this moment in the championship. So, just so it's on record.
Yep.
And as far as basketball is concerned, I saw a power ranking that had OKC above the Celtics, despite them having 5 less won games. So it just kind of shows the kind of basketball that OKC is playing.
Yeah, and a lot of teams, like, it's really close this year. You look at you can go to, like, league standings. The two teams are separated by 3 wins. And there's a lot of teams, like, above 23, ton of teams above 20 wins. I mean, this is a deep, deep, deep league. And it's wide open, to be honest. It's not as predictable as I thought it was going to be. But it's wide open. The Celtics just lost tonight to Indiana, who Indiana looks really, really, really sneaky.
Yeah.
But did you see
bottom feeder teams this year, though?
Yeah, there are.
Did you see Tyrese Halliburton got hurt, though?
Tonight?
Yeah.
Oh,
had to be carried off the court.
Oh,
yeah.
Jeez.
So I don't think it's been announced what the injury is yet, but if he misses any extended period of time, the Pacers' great run that they have with him, it's not necessarily going to come to an end, but they're going to be competing for the last playing spot rather than an actual spot in the playoffs, which is disappointing.
I truly thought they could climb to as high as 4 in the East. I truly thought that,
absolutely could have.
But without Halliburton, I mean, it's dire.
Yeah.
But they do have a good roster. It's just a ton of role players.
Right.
They don't have anyone to take up Halliburton's usage rate.
Yeah.
Yep. I hope it's not serious.
Yeah, so they did come out with an announcement. I'd say hamstring strain, which could be good, could be bad. Hamstrings are really weird.
Yeah.
Especially with NBA players. We remember Zion hurt his hamstring. We thought he'd be back in 2 weeks and missed the rest of the...
Yeah.
Obviously, Halliburton
is more... surgery.
Yeah. Halliburton, I think, is more in shape than Zion was at that point. But still, if he's out for a month.
They said strain.
Yeah.
So that sounds more like the 2-3 week injury.
Yeah, and that's what you hope for, but 2 to 3 weeks with how close this is.
Right, yeah.
You're coming back. You're not really fighting for, like I said, you're not fighting for that 4 or 5 seed. You're fighting for that 10th seed.
See, the thing is, like, this is an injury you'd want before right before the All-Star break where he gets that week off.
That's true.
To rest.
So luckily he does get that, but still not great for the Pacers.
No.
Nuggets are finally catching up with the Timberwolves. I think that they'll get that one soon.
I agree, yeah. I think they're destined for it. I still think Minnesota and OKC will stay up there, but I think the Nuggets are just the team for the one.
And then here's the other thing, though. The Timberwolves do get in as one of the 4 seeds, top 4 seeds. I don't think they go that far, not only because is Denver better than them? The LA Clippers.
Yeah.
That team has gone on a run since they made that trade for James Harden.
It looks really good with Harden.
Yeah, and again, we know how Harden teams tend to play in the playoffs, but I do not trust Minnesota. I still don't. With how good this team is, I just can't.
Yeah.
Because we saw how dysfunctional they were at the end of last year, and we still got a lot of season left.
Yep.
Yeah, and they're really running 3 centers, and like their cornerstones are like Rudy Gobert and Cat. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, and good luck guarding those guards.
A ton of the West teams towards the bottom, too, are really sneaky. Like Lakers, Suns, Warriors are all at the bottom right now, like fighting to get in. And then you have like Dallas, Sacramento's below them. Like there are a lot of teams below them that I just feel better about, I think. I think Sacramento will be up there towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
I think they're picking up pace because they started off so slow.
I feel like this is something the Sacramento does, though. They have good players. They just start off slow, and then they eventually get their feet under them, and then they get on a run.
Yeah, I was going to say it feels like they were almost on the hangover from last year, which is like weird because they lost in the first round. But like they had... I mean, their fans are ecstatic right now. And like that, they pretty much making the playoffs was like a championship. So they pretty much had a making the playoffs hangover at the start of the year. And like, I think that they'll be back because I think Fox, Sabonis, Monk is starting to play really well. I love Harrison Barnes. Like, I really like the roster they have. And we'll see. They could make a trade. They could make a sneaky deal at the deadline if they don't have to give up any like major guys like Sabonis or Fox. That sounds really good to me. And if they could keep Monk and add a superstar or an all-star level player and keep Monk, that would be a really good formula because their roster's pretty good. Like they're nothing to sleep on. I don't think like Denver has a good team. Obviously, they have a great team. They just won the championship. But their roster, it doesn't blow you away. They just play really well together. So I think that anyone has a shot to take them down. And I think Sacramento might have the best chance. I think for now the Clippers do. Yeah. Clippers just have that star power and like they can pour it in. Yeah. They can score in bunches. So I think they have the best shot. But Sacramento's right up there.
You guys have anything else?
No, that's it for me.
Yeah. Okay, I think that'll do it. We'll catch you next week.